Good morning. Good morning, guys. I hope you're all doing well. Um, yeah, just gonna hang out here and wait to see who's gonna join us to have this all important but sad chat this morning. My time, anyway. Um, I've been feeling some funny kind of way since yesterday. All through the day, working, stealing glances at Facebook and all the other social media handles. I hope somebody can hear me. Hello, Sister Hetty. How are you doing, sweetheart? And just seeing the outpour of raw emotion, frustration, anger, tears, crying, men, women, just people expressing themselves. And then just before I went to bed, one of my darling sisters over here sent me a video where a guy, a pastor, I believe, was on a lady pastor's page talking about this same issue. I listened to it and I just had to sleep because I think that this conversation needs to be had where um, my emotions are under control because I get so furious every single time we have to come back on social media yet again to talk about essentially the same thing. A couple years back, for those of you who are Ghanaian, I'm sure even people that are African or otherwise, remember that around September 2 years ago, we were all cooped inside and it was a terrible time. And we were here talking about a lady called Barbara Tommy. I hope some of you can still remember that lady, whose husband was a pastor. They lived in Florida, and the guy shot his own wife, killing her right in front of her workplace. And I really thought that, like so many other stories gone before that, there will come a time when we won't have to have this conversation again, right? But sadly, unfortunately, we're here yet again to talk about a lady who is probably just a year older than I am, that we're going to be laying to rest yet again for the exact same reason. So the question becomes why? What is it that we women, and I'll start with us, um, what is it about us that makes us think that marriage is the end all and be all? And it's almost as if it's a passport or a visa or, I don't know, some kind of naturalization or citizenship that we women are going to go to heaven with, which makes us think that marriage is the end all and be all. If you're not married, you're nothing. And you would rather put up with a dysfunctional marriage that has your very life, the very life, the only thing that you have as a human being here. You're prepared to sacrifice that single one thing that you have that you don't get a do over on in the name of marriage. I can't for the life of me understand this. But looking at the arguments and the different views that have been expressed, I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to think that our very culture as African women And religion, not Christianity, religion is playing a big role, is center stage to this very conversation. And I'll talk about we women, but also there's the male dimension to the whole thing too. But I ask myself whether there will be any circumstance that I would see my own very self subjecting myself or allowing myself to be in that kind of an environment where I would ever be hit by anyone and still decide to stay. I'm 41 years old, and I can tell you on good authority that my father, who had me, has never hit me with the tip of his finger ever before. Not ever, at 41. And I still listen. I still have discipline. He still managed to, have discipline in his home without having to lift a finger in order to do that. And so to me, it's like if the person that was the instrument that made me come to my existence has never hit me before, what would make me allow another human being that has been brought up from another home that I've met and decided that I want to make a life with, think that it's okay for him to lift anything at me? Like, I'm still trying to understand this and be very objective about things here, but it just doesn't settle. There's nothing that can justify this, women. Nothing. A lot of us think that, being single is a curse. Being single means that you're going to have a sad life for the rest of your life. But honestly speaking, wouldn't our sister Osi have been better off to be single and still be singing and still be blessing our lives with her talent right now here than to be going 6 foot under and for us to never hear that distinctive voice of hers that you would hear even with your eyes closed ever again? Which is worse? Like, I know a lot of women, I've seen a lot of women, a lot of them are my friends that would cry about how they're not meeting anyone who's willing to settle, how they don't have anybody and all of this, and they wish they were married. And I always put the question to every single one of them, trust me, it's better to be single than to be in a marriage that literally feels like a prison, like a life sentence in jail. I am here, divorced. I've been married before. I have no shame in saying this. And yes, I'm in a relationship with somebody, but we're not married. And for many reasons, we don't even live together yet. So, am I not a human being? Does that make me any less of a human that I'm 41 and still single? I'm attached but single at the same time. And should marriage be the end all and be all? Because it's almost sounding as if we women think that God brought us under the surface of this planet as African women to take anything just to be married. I've seen it from my great grandparents to my grandparents to my parents. And I'm so sad to see this in 2022. Like, women, what is it that is wrong with us, right? And I think that a lot of us are broken inside. Like, there's this void that we have that we think that marriage is the only thing that satisfies that void, but clearly it isn't. Clearly it's not. And I just can't, guys, if you ever hear that I am in a domestic violence setting of a marriage or relationship, I'm begging all of you that are sat here listening to me, you should know that there's something seriously wrong, and you guys need to report the matter to authorities and make sure that I am taken to safety. I'm speaking. I know it's social media and this is going to go to places, but I'm not ashamed to say this. This is an appeal that I'm making to every single one of you that is watching me this morning, that if you ever hear that I am in an abusive relationship or marriage and I'm allowing that to continue to happen, you should know there's something wrong with me. And I hope that there's at least one person that is listening to me right now that is prepared to come. I give you full authority to report the matter to the authorities and never rest until I'm taken out of that situation, because there's something wrong. Because I can't for the life of me see how being raised in the way that I was, to have a mind of my own, to know right from wrong, and to be an independent human being with brains, can then allow myself to be subjected to any form of violence and think that it's okay. Marriage can never be a life sentence, a death sentence for that matter. Right? My sister Sheila was saying that the church is the problem. But then also, it's almost like you want to ask the question here, what is Christianity? What is church? Because the God that I read about, and I'm not purporting here to be the best Christian that's ever lived, but the Bible that I have, that I read, is about a God and a Jesus that is full of compassion and love. And so if marriage is for better, for worse, right? Shouldn't you have your own non-negotiables? Chocho, God bless you. Sister Hetty, God bless I'm watching every single one of you that is committing to this, right? Isn't marriage supposed to be for better, for worse? But shouldn't we all have non-negotiables? So my partner and I were having this conversation right before I turned my camera on, and I was asking him, because we're both a bit older, right? We started this relationship in our 40s, so he's in his 40s too. And I remember that very early on in communication, I asked him, I said, what are your absolute non-negotiables? And I think this is absolutely crucial from the fundamentals of what you're doing, right? From the very beginning, what are your non-negotiables? And he said, I can't deal with a cheating person. I can't deal with disrespect and, any kind of verbal abuse or any violence in the home that I have. And then he turned around and asked me the same thing. And I was even more vivid than he was. And I said to him, I said, there's a lot of things that I can make room for. I can try to rationalize it. It doesn't mean that it's allowed, but I can try to think about it in my head. But there's 2 or 3 things that are inconceivable. They shouldn't even, you shouldn't even have the thought of making that sort of thing happen because we're done. And the first one is cheating, but I'm going to be even more elaborate about cheating. And I said to him, I can't for the life of me think that I give myself to you, right? Because I really love myself, like my body. I know it's sounding vain here, but I really love myself because this self has been through so much, right? I've been battered and bruised by being unwell. And I've subjected this thing that you're seeing here through so much that I don't think that I can, on top of that, allow another human being to batter it some more. And so with cheating, I can't understand how I can give myself to you, everything of me to you, including what's between my legs. And I can't conceive that we do all those things that we do, right? In the sanctity of wherever it happens in our home. And then you go do that same thing to some other person and then come back and expect to do that thing to me again. Ain't never gonna happen. If I don't know, well, I don't know. But as soon as we find out, and I don't care whether it happened 20 years ago or it was something that you did 15 years ago, and the fact that you did that whilst I was with you, we're done. We're done because I'll never trust you again. And if I can't trust you, I cannot see how that thing can happen ever again. We're done. Number 2, to yell at me, call me names, verbal abuse, and then go beyond that to lift a finger at me, we're done too. And if you hit me, you're going to jail first. And then we're done. So we set the ground rules from the get-go. We all know where we stand. We all know what the non-negotiables are. This is not about forgiving, Mike, and I'm really trying to control myself here, my brother. We're having a very constructive conversation here. It is these silly narratives about forgiveness and it's okay and they hit you once and it's okay and they show remorse. It's why OC is 6 foot under. Right? My brother Mike Champon, it is for silly things. This whole thing about forgiveness. Oh, why can't you forgive? Oh, it doesn't matter. But the people, they've regretted what they've done. It's why OC is 6 foot under today. Right? Number 2, forgiveness. Right? Let's address this. Forgiving you doesn't mean that I still have to live with you. I can forgive you from a distance. Fama Nyame syndrome. Auntie, yeah, can you imagine that? We take Nyamisem too far. My white pastor lady and queen husband, and the queen husband and Queen Vashti's husband was a jerk. How can you permit things like this to happen? How? And I've said the same thing that I'm saying to you guys, to my own mother and father too. I said, if you guys smell it from wherever you are, that your daughter is allowing abuse, you should know that there's something not right. Come get me out of that thing. I give you full permission to do that. Whether it happened 2 years ago or 30 years ago, we are done. The fact that I was with you, I'm your wife, I'm your woman, I'm your whatever, and you cheat on me or you lay a finger on me, we're done. So there won't be it happened 20 years ago. With the cheating, if I didn't hear about it or if I didn't find out about it, hallelujah. But as soon as I do, we're done. I don't care when it happened. As long as I was with you, when the said thing happened, we're done. Right? That's my non-negotiable. Okay? Number 2, the hitting, that's instant because I have to be physically present for you to touch me or lay a finger at me. So once that happens, we're done. It is this, oh, he hit me once. Maybe it was all my fault. When you read some of the things that the tributes that are on social media, this woman was a seasoned gospel musician in her own right. But when people invited her to programs, can you come and perform? Can you come sing at so and so? Please go and beg my husband. What the? Right? Exactly. Go and beg. I beg, make you go beg my husband. Can you believe that? That is what I'm reading on social media. Beg your husband for me to sing. My brother Michael, this is my platform, right? I have every right to express myself however way I want to. And I'm having a conversation here with my sisters and brothers that have an open mind enough to allow me to be me and express myself, right? What you see is what you get. This is me. With all my imperfections, this is me. I don't speak to please anybody. I speak to express an opinion. And as it's evident, I'm very angry this morning. Very upset. Very upset. And so if what I'm saying doesn't really, it's not agreeing with you, you don't have to be here, my brother. Maybe tomorrow what I say may be for you, but maybe today's message is just not sitting well with you. That is fine. You don't have to be here. But me, I say it as it is. Everybody who knows me on this platform knows that I say it as it is. No holdbacks at all. But I can't for the life of me understand how we women think that it's okay for somebody else to lay a finger on you and still be your husband, your boyfriend, your fiance, whatever you want to call it, and still lie in bed with you and feel that it's okay for them to put I can't think about it. I can't. Right? It's time, women. It's time. We can't be having this conversation over and over and over and over again. Barbara came and went. Today it's Osi. And there's been so many others in between. Like, when is this ever going to stop? When? It's women have been choked and prevented from speaking and muzzled, as my auntie is saying. And it's just gone on for so long. Women are not allowed to speak. We don't have a voice because you are the woman, right? So go sit in that corner. And men can't stand women that have the confidence and the huge voice to speak. They can't. It is not okay. It is not okay to be in a marriage for the man to think that he's earned the right to lay a finger on you ever. It is not okay. It's not. And women always make I aggravated him. I agitated him. I made him angry. I'm sorry, but if a man can't control his temper, is he even worth being called a man in the first place? Or is he just a boy? And that is the question. My parents have been married for 45 years this year. They met each other in their late teens. They knew each other for a good 8 to 10 years before they got married and had me. And my dad has never so much as, like blown hot air in the direction of my mom. They have disagreements. They're human. They argue. But I have never even been in and amongst them whilst they're shouting and screaming at each other. Mm-mm. All that goes on in their room, their bedroom. They can go and do that there. And I can't for the life of me imagine how my mom will sit around in a marriage for 45 years, married to an abusive man. It just won't happen. And so it's absolutely inconceivable for somebody like me being brought up in that kind of an environment to think that people think it's okay to be hit by a man because he's my husband. It's just not okay. It's not. And I've seen my dad walk away from angry situations when he thinks, no, I can't, this is not the time and place to talk about this. You just leave. And then when tempers have calmed down, they can sit down and have the conversation. There's never been no hitting, no shouting, no screaming, nothing like that. 45 years they've been married. So it means that it's possible. And there's still good men out there. But there's a lot of horrible boys living in the body of so-called men out there. There's a lot of broken boys out there living in the persona of a man. Broken completely. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this subject, quite rightly so, as I've got 3 girls myself. I was even labeled a feminist. Oh yes, if that means not abusing any woman. Of course. I'm sitting here asking myself, why would a man want to hit me? Everybody who knows me well, my brother Mike, knows that I love my dad to bits. I love my dad to bits, and he knows that. Right? And so if there are men like that, why is it so bad for us to be asking for more men to be men like that? And why should we take boys that are pretending to be men and accept that as the narrative? And that is one reason why when I hear people saying men will always be men, because of the way we were made, cheating is a part of us, and there's nothing wrong with cheating. I just think, gosh, there must be something wrong with my dad then. He didn't get that memo. Both him and his brother, they didn't get that memo. Because they've been sat in marriages, married to women over 30-something odd years, 45 years in my dad's case. And if there's something that my mom and dad have this running joke about, my mom asked my dad once that, so if you happen to go before me, Jerry, would I ever be hearing about these hidden children that you had out of wedlock that I'm not aware about? And my dad had a good laugh. And he said, any child that comes out of the woodworks and says that I'm their dad is an imposter. And my mom herself knows. And she talks about it very openly that if there is one thing that she's willing to bet her last dime on, it's on the fact that her husband will never pass away while she's still alive and find that they're illegitimate children popping out of the woodworks and claiming that my dad is their dad. Can you say that confidently about the man that you live with? We women have made certain things seem okay, right? We've tolerated so much and accepted so much. Last week, I was talking to you guys about a program on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it, you better go watch it. And there's Annie Indibia, another broken woman. You can see, the eyes never lie, right? The eyes. It doesn't matter how much bling bling and glamour you try to put on it, your eyes just never lie. And there she is making excuses for her husband to Baba and how they've renewed their vows. You can stick whatever on it. But you ain't fooling me. The first child that Annie had was her husband's fifth child, right? Fifth child. Yes, we must be, we can't be from different families, right? But the fact that we're from different families doesn't still mean that being indisciplined and irresponsible should still not be spoken about, my brother, right? My father came from a very dysfunctional home, right? Where his father had multiple children from multiple women. It didn't have a happy ending. It didn't. It's just so much discourse and confusion and problems every single day that we're still solving till today. My mom is no different. Yeah. Also from a very polygamous home where the men just went out there and planted children everywhere they went. It's not funny, right? But the two of them haven't learned those lessons and seen what being dysfunctional or living in dysfunction means. And these parents are Ghanaian, right? They're Ghanaian, they're African. Said to themselves that we're going to be different. We are not going to continue this dysfunction and allow history to repeat itself. And that is what I'm talking about. I don't think there's any one of us listening to me here that is African that doesn't have dysfunction in one generation of their family down the line till now. Not one. All the great grandfathers, and they were all polygamous. And they had all sorts of issues. I know someone whose great grandfather had 60 children with about 12 or 15 different women. Do you know what that confusion created in that home and has created till today? My parents have been married for 53 years and I've never seen them fight. They may have their situation, but they never let the children see it. Thank you, my darling. So it is possible, is what I'm saying. Domestic violence of any kind is just unacceptable. The yelling, the screaming, the hitting, the beating, the cheating. It's not okay. It's not okay. I read something on one of the posts. Verbal abuse is better than a man laying his finger on you. And I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with this woman? Abuse of any form. It's not acceptable. Now here we are, condoning violence. Oh, she died of throat cancer when it was the fatal hit that has caused this that we're here to talk about today. Men seem to get away with everything in our society. Who is holding them accountable? Who is training the young men? Women are too comfortable bearing burdens because we've been brainwashed to be superwoman. You can't come and kill yourself, my darling. You can't. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Look, I've heard so many horror stories, right? A man marries a woman. They start having children. They've had two. He says, I don't want no more children. But he's still sleeping with his wife without no protection. So I can't understand, right? You've had two children. I don't want no more children. Okay, but you still want skin to skin. Okay. And so the wife gets pregnant with the third kid and he's pissed off. I told you I don't want any more children. I told you I don't want it. But you want skin to skin. Okay. So now she's pregnant with child number 3. What does the man do? Mixes up some concoction in a drink, feeds it to the wife. Half an hour later, she's oozing of blood. Then goes to dump her in a hospital and drives off. Doesn't look back or think or care. But a woman gets better and still goes back to sleep with that man again. And guess what? She gets pregnant again. That is inconceivable to me. It's inconceivable that a man can slap you and hit you till you're black and blue. You've got the scars all over the place. You're covering it up with makeup and sitting in the front row, the front pews of the church, and seeing this animal of a human being preaching God is love to the congregation. And you sit there and you know that every fiber of your being cannot take this. It's almost as if, for me, right, there's certain things that I cannot eat. And it's almost as if that thing has been forced into your mouth and you just can't swallow it down. And yet you're sitting there acting picture perfect. Jesus is love. You can't even raise up your hand in praise to God because you've been hit and there's a big bruise on your arm. And you're still there playing Sofumami, pastor's wife, the leader of the women's wing of the church. I have to be strong. I have to be confident. You have to sit in the marriage. Marriage is for better, for worse. Aye, women. My husband told me I'm not his child, that he should take care of me. And I feel sad hearing that from a husband. My darling, you know what to do. You know what to do. Women have to just kind of take our rightful positions, It's about time that we women start to recognize the place that God has put us. Because I don't think that we women have really been able to grasp and understand who we really truly are. I'm not joking. And I know my auntie Ya understands exactly what I'm saying. She said it all this time. In her books, in the things that she says it all the time. The whole problem is that we women don't know who we are. And we haven't taken our rightful positions in the surface of this planet. We haven't. We don't know who we are. Sadly, but the truth. And when women that are confident, that know what they want, arise, sadly, you find women who envy the confidence that you exude, turning around and fighting you, not because they envy you, or maybe they do, but it's all just because they can't have the confidence that you have to say that I am not taking this rubbish and putting up with it in the name of marriage. Women, I'm here to tell you, marriage ain't no passport, no visa, no citizenship, no entry requirement to get to heaven. That is my firm belief. Ain't nothing gonna change my mind. The God that I read about, the God that I serve, is not a mean God that says that when you're put in a situation where your very human being is being abused, turned into a punching bag and abused, you should stick with it because you have to remain married. I don't believe that. I don't. You think about it. God said that He made you listening to me, in His image and likeness, and set you apart and called you good. Now I'm preaching, right? And then He says that He knows the plans that He has for you, right? Plans to give you a future and a hope. How the hell can this same God then be the one that says to you that after making you in His image and likeness, that it's okay for you to go situate yourself in a place and allow yourself to be battered and bruised because it's okay? It doesn't make any sense, guys. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. And a lot of people on social media have said this. Like, I've said it over and over and over again. Like today, when I was going to turn this camera on, I was like, so have we not heard a word of what we've been talking about all this time? All this time. Everybody else and their dog thinks, oh, it can never be me. I know he hits me a little bit, but it's just a slap every now and again. He can never hit me to the point where he takes my life. No, he wouldn't go that far. How do you know? How do you know? If he can slap you that one time, do you know what he can do next time? Do you? If he can slap you that one time, do you know what he'll do to you next time? Right? I've seen women say stupid things that blow my imagination. Somebody said to me, I always like to antagonize my husband because the day that we fight, blow to blow, and he beats me so much, sometimes he even gets the cane that they used to discipline children in Africa. You guys know what I mean, right? And he beats me like a child, my back, my buttocks, everything. And then late at night, he comes to me and he kneels down on the floor and he starts crying and he says he's really sorry for what he did. And then he treats me like a baby. And then when he puts me into bed and he has sex with me, it's like the best feeling ever. And I was just sat there, my jaw dropping, looking at this woman and thinking, you are sick. You need help. If it has to take being beaten and having the marks across your back and your feet and your buttocks to prove that you're being disciplined into bed. And if you have to be beaten before you have good sex that you can have orgasms with, you are mad. But this is what somebody said to me. She's African, she's Ghanaian for that matter. She loves to antagonize the husband when she feels the need for sex, because when he beats her up, that's when they have the greatest sex ever. She said that. Guys, if I want to tell you the sorts of things I hear in my ears, you'd be amazed. But somebody said that to me. And there was no getting away from it. There was no trying to explain to her that it's not acceptable, because that's her mind. I remember my grandmom, bless her heart, telling me growing up that African men will cheat no matter what you do. And so you ought to go into marriage accepting that that will happen. And you have to look past that and just stay in the marriage for the sake of your children. And I thought that was mental too. I loved her so much and I miss her so much, but that was one thing that we never agreed on, and we never will. And now she's late, but I would never accept dysfunction as being okay. Guys, if you haven't watched, I think it's called Young, Famous, and African, or Rich, Famous, and African, something like that. It's on Netflix. Go watch it and tell me what you think about Annie. Annie has all the money. The husband tries to use materialistic things to make up for his indiscretions, and there were lots of them. But Annie is broken into 1,000 little pieces. Annie was sad in South Africa with her friends and was still Googling the husband to check up on him in the name of taking care of or looking after her merchandise or something. She said, her property. I'm checking my property. If you have to live with a man and constantly turn yourself into a willy CID, a CID in charge of willies, of your husband's willy, of your husband's dingling, right? If I have to be in Ghana visiting family and then be on social media Googling my husband's willy to see where it went, is that a marriage? Is that a life? Am I supposed to be enjoying my marriage or to turn myself into a CID, MI5, checking the status of my husband's willy to see where it's been? What kind of nonsense is that? What kind of nonsense is that one? If your husband doesn't respect you enough to treat you right, then he's not worth it, my darling. And this is the point. Don't look at one side, because not all men are like this. Some men are responsible to their wives or their women. Well, but the person we're talking about today weren't responsible for. He killed his wife, okay? He killed his wife. And that is what we're talking about. We're not talking about responsible men today. We're talking about the irresponsible, wicked men. And I'm not going to apologize for that, because there are a lot of very dysfunctional men that expect that we women should continue to accept dysfunction. Oh, but he's a man, men are just like that. They're just like what? They're just like what? There's a difference between human beings and animals. I hope you guys realize that. And that is, the human beings have been given self-control. And so if a man turns themselves into a he-goat, and go sticking it everywhere, right? Why must anybody have any iota of respect for such a person? Because there's a difference between animals and humans. Women are expected to be chaste and don't open your leg for any other man apart from your husband, la 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 la, yada yada yada. But what about the men? Should they go sticking it anywhere? What's good for the goose is good for the gander, you know. And if women will be absolutely honest, I'm looking for a woman here that will stick their neck out and be absolutely honest here right now. We women get fed up too. We get fed up with the same dick. We do. We get fed up with the same dick. We do. Not even going to be ashamed or pretend here. It's true. We do. But what keeps a lot of us is that we made a vow to stick to this for the rest of our lives. And because of that vow that we made, we stay. We are talking about babies in adult men clothing. And I said this, that there's so many boys walking around throwing their toys out of a pram, dressed up in adult body. Right? There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is death. What is good for the goose, not good for the gander. We are equals. The roles might be different. You might have a prick and I have a vagina, but we are human nonetheless, equals for that matter. There is no one above the other. We're supposed to coexist and be co-participants in a relationship. It's like a business. And you have co-founders in that business, joint people in that business, managing the business. The fact that I type the letters and you go solicit for contracts out there does not make you any better or superior to me. Because without the typing of the letters and balancing the books, there's no business. Likewise, if I sit home and type letters and do the admin and the paperwork all day and balance the books financially, and there ain't no business coming in, we'll go under in no time. And so you see, there are two people, both roles equally important. You can't have one without the other. And so this is where common sense must prevail. Two people must live side by side and agree that we're in this business together. We're riding this ship to its destination. We're captains of this ship. Whether it's sink or sails, it's up to us. The fact that I clean the house and you go make the money does not give you the right, if that is what we agreed from the beginning, to then go out there and sticking it everywhere and everywhere. Does not make it right. There's no excuse for cheating. None. Oh, and sometimes we men get fed up with eating the same soup all the time. And you think that we don't? You think that we don't? Because when I marry somebody in the early 20s, we're single, we've just gotten married, there ain't no children, there's nothing. Every time you guys are together, you're watching movies, you're screwing. You're sleeping, you're screwing. You wake up screwing everywhere, right? 20 short years later, if you were doing 10 rounds a night 20 years ago, by the time you're in your 40s, I'm lucky if I'm getting 2 rounds a week because you're tired. Now we've got the children running around and we've got things to do. And so that demand, that supplying that you were supplying 20 years ago, you cannot continue to do that 20 years down the road. But we women, we adjust to all the changing scenes. We are changing too, but we adapt to your change. When the plantain is getting ripened, we know, but we keep it cool. Exactly. This plantain has turned to kelewele. In fact, you have to even add flour to it. Mash it up and add flour to it and make it into a plantain cake. Deep, uh, deep fried plantain, whatever. And then eat that. Plantain fritters. I think that's what the Jamaicans call it. And then eat that. And even spice it up on top of that because it's bland when it's just flour and plantain. So now you have to add a little bit of hot sauce, a little bit of peppers, a bit of ginger, a bit of onion, a bit of whatever, and salt. So it needs seasoning. But we still say it's okay because this is what we signed up to, right? At 25, it's hitting the spot right where it needs to hit. By 35, bending moment is taking place. This thing can't even stand up straight for 2 minutes. It's like that. And we're still putting up with it because we signed up to it. We don't complain. We don't grumble. We don't moan. We put up with it. It's just unbelievable that women have all these demands put on them. They're expected to be a certain way. They're expected to do things a particular way. But men don't have and not judged by those same standards. Oh, he's the man. Men are just like that. That kind of conversation just makes me so mad. Makes me so angry. Sometimes I choose not to. I choose to pretend I haven't even heard it. Because I live in a time where I choose to pick my battles. There's no point jacking up my blood pressure for somebody who is clearly stupid. No point. There's some conversations that are worth having because it's education, right? People genuinely don't know. And you can tell those from those that just plainly want to be stupid. And a lot of people, a lot of men out there, whilst our sister Osi has passed on, are calling her names. She's stupid for staying. She's this, she's that. But isn't it the culture though? I wouldn't stay. I don't care what people say about me. I don't give a toss. Like, say whatever you want to say. I'm sat in my own space here. You can insult me. You can do what you like. Doesn't affect my life in any way. Still have to pay my bills. I still have to go hustle. Nothing changes, right? So I don't give a toss about what you think about me. And if a marriage doesn't work for me and I walk, because those weren't the terms and conditions at the time of signing this contract. Marriage is like a business. You know that? It's like going to procure a business, procure an agreement, a contract, and signing on the dotted line. Money will be disbursed to you as long as you fulfill your side of the contract. So when you stop working, money stops coming. That's how it works. So if I go say, I'm going to construct 10 kilometers of road, it's going to be asphalted. I'm going to need 10 men. And I cost this whole thing and give it a price. And I win the bid. I go digging up, excavating all kinds of things. And then I just put topsoil, compact it a bit, put a bit of water, compact it some more so that the things are not flying around. And then I go and say, okay, I'm done here. Can I have my money? Will I get paid? Would I get paid? I said asphalt. I didn't say brown road. I said asphalt. So do I get paid? Where's the bitumen? Where's the gravel? Where? Asphalt, where is it? Do I still get paid? But a lot of people think that that sort of a scenario is different from a marriage. You're married to a woman as a man. And you've said in the presence of God, the church, and everybody, the families, I will love your wife, your daughter. I will be with her. I'll be faithful to her, forsaking all others. I will be faithful to your woman, your daughter. I will love her and I'll protect her and I'll beat her, ride or die. 6 months later, you are there dancing in a party, rubbing your dinglings on some other woman, not coming home at night, sleeping out with your friends. And is this the vow that you made? Is it? That's the African woman. Oh, men are like that. They're just living out their exuberance. Really? And you don't think that I have an exuberance to live too? You're having a freaking laugh. But the difference is that the women, 99% of the time, have respected the vows that they've made. And they stay regardless. They stay regardless. A lot of us women bloggers, unfortunately, have a lot of men thinking that we turn on our cameras as women and we're feminist and we don't say anything in their support. On the contrary, if you're a man and you have the heart and the patience to look beyond what you think is or what you perceive things to be, you would actually realize that if you listen to women bloggers and what they say about women and what women's expectations are, and you are man enough to admit when you're wrong and right the wrongs in your life, you realize that you have a happy home. We women go through so much. You guys, you don't have the foggiest idea. We go through so much. We sacrifice so much for marriage. But men will come and say, and we men don't. We clean the home. We make sure the kids are fine. We make sure that you are fine. Most women go to a 9, 10, 12-hour day job, 5 days a week, but they still come home and put hot meals on your table. You still want to have sex with that wife of yours after working 12 hours, spending 3 or 4 more hours in the kitchen cooking for you. What do? You come back from work, you kick your shoes off, sometimes throw one under that couch, the other one under the other couch. You put your feet on the coffee table and you're watching TV. It's almost as if the woman has some extra bit of, I don't know what, pumped into her. Then the same men turn around and say, but women are the weaker sex. Like, I can't understand. Right? We women, we take so much. We deal with so much. And then we have to deal with our own selves, what is going on internally in our bodies too. Because our bodies change. And it's a very difficult time. Take it from somebody who knows, right? Women have monthly menstrual periods that you guys will never have the foggiest idea what that thing is about. You don't. I was saying to my friend the other day, I said, and I was going through a really bad bout of menstrual stuff. And I said to her, I said, I wish men would also have this monthly thing. You wake up one day and their balls are on fire. For 3, 4 straight days, they're having ball pain. And it hurts so much. Sometimes it squeezes them in so much that they're ready to scream. And then they have blood oozing out of their pricks every month. Maybe then they'll have a bit of respect and regard for the women that they live with. Because a lot of them just take these things. But every woman has a period. What is it? Why are you shouting as if you're the only one who has a period? Are you kidding me? Do you know what that thing is? Do you know? The woman will still stand up and go to the kitchen, even in the midst of the cramps where her whole inside is on fire, and still cook for you. They'll take Advil and Panadol and whatever else, and the thing is oozing out in between their legs. They are still cooking for you. And some men are so inhumane to the point that even when their wives are having their menses, they still want to sleep with them. I've heard that too. Oh, go have a shower. Go clean it out. And I want to have this, so I'm going to have it. That is why you're my wife. I've heard all of these things, guys. I'm telling you, the things that I hear are mind-blowing. Yet most women, when you're having your period, even somebody touching you is the last thing that you want to happen. And a lot of women are putting up with that. We live in an era where women are afraid of their men cheating so much that women are being subjected to do things that they don't want to do just to keep the men at home. Do you know how many Ghanaian women message me privately and ask me to talk about anal sex because it's now the order of the day? You're not doing, he's going to go do it elsewhere. Anal sex is like the in thing now. And any woman who refuses that means that their husband is going to go get it elsewhere. That is where men have gotten to now. Yes. And a lot of women are doing it just to make sure that they keep their men's dingling stuck at home because they're scared that if they don't do it, the men are going to go get it elsewhere and bring back some filthy illnesses and bring it home. They want to live. They want to keep their marriage under the thing of for the sake of the children. And women are having anal sex against their will. That is what is going on right now. The hookups, the foursomes, and the quadruple sums. Are you guys not hearing about it? It's happening. Married couples paying to have other couples into their bed. So there's 4 or 5 different people, the husband, this, that one, and it is happening right there in Ghana. I don't know whether you guys are not listening. It is happening. I am telling you, right? It is happening. Hook up, Google it, it's happening. There are actually platforms where women will take pictures of themselves, and if you want to see more, put 1,000 Ghana cedis Momo, and I can organize another 2 girls for you. And there are men that are sleeping with 3, 4 women at once in their houses. I'm telling you, it is happening in Ghana. It's happening. And women are doing these things just to keep their home against their wishes. That is where we are. Is that not abuse? If you make somebody do something against their wishes, is that not abuse? Is it not? A lot of us are just quiet. Many people can't speak because they don't have the confidence to face the backlash. And I tell you, some of these people are men of God. I'm not joking. Some of these people doing the anal sex and the swinging are men of God who mount pulpits on a Sunday and tell young people not to have sex before marriage. And yet, in their bed is 2 or 3 other women they are not married to, sucking their dicks because their wives don't do it good enough or at all, and sleeping with them. Mounting a pulpit on Sunday to come talk to me about being chaste and morals. It's happening. These are not made up things. I'm telling you that it's happening. People come in your inbox and they're pleading with you. Oh, you can talk about my story, but please don't mention my name. Because they can't take it. They can't live with the. And how many of you would even believe them if they come to tell you the truth? If this pastor is somebody you love so much, you have so much respect for, would you believe it when their wives tell you this is what they're being subjected to? Pastors beating their wives with canes. Pastors sleeping with their wives' mates. Their wives' sisters. Making some pregnant. Sleeping with half of the women in the church. It's all happening right there under your noses in Ghana. In Africa, it's happening. So don't nobody come talk to me about it's not all men who are like that. I know my father is not like that. He's a man too. But we're talking about numbers here. And we're talking about our sister Osi, who has died needlessly. Some stupid things like this. You hold people into certain huge standards that women feel like they gag. They can't open their mouth to really tell us what they're going through because we'll judge them. Look, how can a gospel musician like Osi leave her husband? What is this? That is what we would have said. She has backslidden. But when she was being beaten up like an animal, she was still there, raising up her hand. And we think that that is enough. That is okay. When you say you want to marry a man of God, you have to understand now, this is how it is. And we put up with dysfunction for that. Do you know how many women, those who even have the so-called voice, to woman up and go to the authorities to report? What happens? Oh, but how can your husband, your own husband, abuse you? It doesn't make any sense. Did he not pay your bride price? So because he paid my bride price, does that make me a sacrificial lamb that has to be slain? Impregnating little. Oh, that is box standard, Sister Hetty. It is. Box standard. Impregnating little is like drinking water. It's happening. It is happening. Those of you who are unaware of what is going on in that Africa, that Ghana there, yeah, it is worse than Sodom and Gomorrah, I'm telling you. We women are our own worst enemies. And that is the point, my darling. We women judge more than the men. Absolutely. Why are you not married? Why don't you have children? Why are you divorced? Why are you single? It is we women who do this to our own selves, as if we don't understand what life is all about being an African woman. or just a woman, full stop. And so it takes the few of us that will not take that lying down to say, no, I love you. I will love you, but I'm not loving you at all cost. I'm not loving you if you raise a finger to hit me. I can't love you then. I'm sorry, you're on your own. The one that I dislike so much, women, you are the holder of the home. You have to keep this marriage. If the success of this marriage depends on you, bollocks. Utter bollocks is what that is. It takes two to tango. If I'm going to clean the house and clothe whatever and cook and clean, whilst you're busy sticking it anywhere, why am I supposed to be the holder of the home? Huh? Why? I could get dressed and get busy too. You're not the only one with sense. I was raised right there in Ghana. The same Ghana where this dysfunction is going on. It's where I was raised too. And in our home, I saw parents do everything together. I can tell you on good authority, my mom never washed my dad's knickers, not once. He did it himself. All the time, till now. He washes his own clothes. Even now, he cooks his own food. Yes, he still has a wife. Yes, they're still married, 45 years, in fact. So, yes. It is possible. It is possible. If you're prepared to put up with nonsense, nonsense will be dished out at you. That if you marry a man and not a boy, they get it. My dad changes diapers, even his grandchildren's. He does. He bathes and clothes, and they jump on him and they sleep next to him in his bed, and he feeds them and everything. They love him. I want to go to Grandpa Jerry. Yes, they actually demand from their parents that they want to go see Grandpa Jerry. It's possible. He washes his car. He does literally everything for himself. He is self-sufficient, and it is possible. I remember growing up and a lot of people saying to me that you're going to have a hard time because now that you have a home where you've been raised in such a high standard, you're not going to be able to put up with substandard people. And it's true. It is the way that you value yourself, the weighting and the value that you give yourself is how other people get to treat you. But if you take a stand and say, no, this is not acceptable in my books, I'm not putting up with this set thing, it doesn't get down to you. We women are underweight. We've underweighed ourselves because of marriage, just as you're saying. But marriage isn't for everybody. True. Our culture is not on the side of women. It put too much pressure on women, and it's because it becomes antisocial when a woman is not married. Women will go to every length to get a husband and will go miles to keep them. It doesn't surprise me that they're forced to go by their men's sexual fantasies. It's happening. And that is a form of abuse too. Because sexual intimacy is supposed to be something that is agreed to by both parties. If you're going to have anal sex, it has to be a mutually consenting thing that both of you agree to do it. Not because somebody thinks that it's the in thing. So I must do it. And you must allow me to do it because you're married to me. Can we live in a society where nobody believes that there's rape in marriage? Can you believe that? We live in a society where people, women and men, don't think that there's such a thing as rape in marriage. And, whenever he says it must be dished out because you're his husband or his wife or whatever, and you have to do it. But love making, sex, whatever you want to call it, should be a mutually understanding and agreeable thing. If you want to do, and I'm not in the mood because I'm sick, because of whatever, that should be respected and upheld too. You're not an animal. Self control. And I've said it multiple times. That is the difference between humans and animals. And so I'm saying here, what kind of men is our society creating? Because it's also becoming apparent that a lot of the issues that we're having now is because those of you who are parents are seemingly not raising men. There are a lot of broken boys out there dishing out havoc to women. The telltale signs are always there, visible to see. The women are always blinded by love. The abuser's creed never fails, never. It might not follow the same pattern. There might be certain things that, come before others, but it is the creed nonetheless. The writing is always on the wall. When you're dating somebody and they get mad at the slightest, insignificant thing, if I was you, I'll slam on the brakes on that kind of a relationship and be sure you know what you're signing up to before you sign up to that, because it's always there. The writing is always on the wall. But we women just don't pay attention. We're caught up in lovey-dovey. We're not listening. We're not watching. That is the problem too. That is the problem. Part of the problem. Oh, but he loves me. I can change him. His own parents could not change him. He's now 25, a fully fledged adult. And you think that because he loves you, because he sticks it in you, you can change him? Whereas the person who he came out of wasn't able to change. You can change. Good luck to you. This is part of the problem. The writing is always on the wall. Men who speak in a very disrespectful manner about women never respect women. Whether you're the wife, whatever, they talk down at women all the time. I will push and slam on the brakes on that kind of a relationship because it doesn't have a happy ending. Any man who is not an advocate of a woman, forget it. Women are raising these monsters of men because we're battered and bruised already, right? You go get pregnant for some person that said he loved you, he left you, and now you're a single mom and you're taking out your frustration and anger on this kid, boy child of yours that never asked to be born. We need a lot of cleansing. It's time for women to start speaking up and admit to the fact that a lot of us are just broken. That is the truth. Why are women falling into this thing? Because a lot of us don't know who we are. if you knew who you were and whose you are, would you allow anybody to do this kind of a thing to you? A lot of us purport to love the Lord, but do you really understand how much He loves you as His child? Do you understand what it means? A lot of us convince ourselves that divorce is not acceptable at any cost. Even when you lose your life, it's fine to stay married and not divorced. Because society has this particular stigma associated with you being divorced. But in this our setting here, divorce is nothing. I've seen people stay married for 70 years. I happen to be in a situation, in a position, in a job where I see a lot of things. Unfortunately, I can't go into it much more than that, but I'm telling you that I see people, Caucasian, Afro-Caribbean, name it, different cultures, but especially Caucasians that got married in their late teens or 20s. And now they're in their 90s and 80s, 60, 70 years of marriage. And they're inseparable. The wives talk so fondly of their husbands when they pass. You listen in awe and marvel at marriages like that. And on days like that, you wish you were married too. And then, of course, you flip the coin. And there are women whose lives have literally been controlled by men. You don't know whether they're coming or going. And the men have trapped and caged these women to the point of saying, if you leave me, I'll kill myself and your children. And women believe that. And they stick in dysfunctional homes because of that. It's just crazy. More youth these days think they're more sensible than their parents. And even when you teach them, they don't even respect that. It's true. But let's cut to the root cause of the problem. You shouldn't have a child if you're not ready to mother or father that child, is my belief. You shouldn't. Because then you create these things and these situations that we're talking about here. Like I said, the odds are stacked up against women so much that any slight little thing will tip the balance. In 2022, there's still places where they'll rather have a dog heading a particular department than a woman who is single, a woman who doesn't have children. It's happening live and colored. It's in governments, it's in departments, it's in private sector organizations, I'm telling you. And yes, they're very competent women, single, married, whatever, it doesn't matter, that can take charge of that place and do a good job. But be a woman, the odds are already stacked against you. Be single, no children, forget it. Forget it. It's happening. I see it all the time. I had a cousin who was refused a job that she was overqualified for because she was single and childless in Ghana. If she had a husband and she had even one child, she would have got the job. But she didn't get the job because, one, she's single, and two, she doesn't have children. It doesn't show responsibility. That was the excuse. So they gave the job to some old fool of a guy who didn't have the experience, was not qualified. And because he was married and had a bunch of kids, It shows responsibility. This is the narrative that has to change. So that is the one side. The second thing is that please don't have children that you're not ready for. I always say this to women, that before you go taking off your knickers for a guy, I know you're caught up in this whole euphoria. You're so excited about marriage or sex or the lovemaking or whatever. And the orgasm that you're being told or promised that you're going to have. But you see, every time that you allow somebody to stick their manhood inside of you, it's a time that you're potentially going to become a mom. And the question you should ask yourself, am I ready for this commitment? Are you ready to be a parent? And if the answer to that is no, then you know what to do. You either desist entirely from that thing, or if you must, protect yourself at least, because you know you're not ready to be a mom. Because when the cookie crumbles, and it always does, 9 times out of 10, the men will walk away and tell you you're not the type of women, they were just having fun. They'll force you into having abortion, which will ruin your life. If you're never able to have other children, you sit and cuss yourself for the rest of your life. But he's moved on and he's had his children. There can be nothing more stupid than that. The two people do something and each person walks away with different outcomes. It's stupid. So make sure, take it, like a lot of people that are born like today have the benefit of advice from people who have done the wrong things and had wrong outcomes advising. But it's sad that people just choose to put cocks in their ears and not listen. Because if I have this benefit of, I wish somebody was bold enough to have big mouth like mine to tell me this now, I would be more than grateful. But as my sister said, we're brewing and breeding a generation of young people who think they know everything and don't pay attention to the core fundamental principles about life. If you're not ready to be a parent, my dear woman, think critically when those knickers are coming off. Because when the cookie crumbles, it falls to you and you alone to then become that single parent that has to raise the kid. And a lot of us then are walking around full of so much anger and frustration because being a parent ain't easy. And we take it out on the kids. And we're breeding boys that are angry because their fathers were never there. Their mothers were always verbally abusing them. And so they felt they didn't have a place. Who better to take their frustrations on later on in life than the same woman that looks like the one that raised him? What you put into a person, that is what he brings back out to you 10 times over. And so if you're not ready to be a parent, if you're not ready to be a mom that's going to love your kid and lavish him or her with so much love that he knows and understands who he is, then my darling, think about it. Don't let that dingling in front of him fool you. Don't get caught up in that butterfly moment, because this is a decision that is life transformational. Think about it before you make that decision. Now, to the men. The fact that I'm advising my girls, because at the end of the day, they carry the pregnancy and they have to deal with it going forward, doesn't also mean that men are immune from what I'm saying here. You know full well that this girl that you're hanging around, you have no intention of marrying. You don't love her. You're just hitting and running. But what you guys forget is that if you throw a ball to the wall, it bounces back at you. You're creating a generation of women that are sad and angry and frustrated, but they were used by other men that never married them. So to you, if you know that you have no intention of marrying somebody's daughter, then you have no business sticking it in there too. Be disciplined and know that karma is a bitch, right? Whatsoever you sow, you would reap it a gazillion times over. How do you send stars? Let me see if I can find my video and I'll show you how to send stars. They're not free stars, my love. They are paid. Just give me a second. Okay. So just bear with me. I'm trying to see if I can find a video and I'll show you how to send stars. And I hope you guys can see. Just bear with me. Oh gosh, just go. So guys, I mean, marriage is for better, for worse. Yes. Mine says, I don't know whether you can see it, but can you see? Can you see that yellowy thing there? There. This. That is the star thing. So you press on that and it's a paid thing. So you pay for the stars and then you send the stars to me. That's how it works. I hope you saw that. Anyway, so guys, think about it. Think critically about it. Hello, Kwame. How are you? I will never say that all men are bad people. I have a father. He's a man. He's not a bad person. But there are a lot of bad nuts out there. And it's to you to beware of who you're hooking up with. There are a lot of hit and running men out there, right? A lot of them, a lot. And they come as wolves dressed in sheepskin. Okay? They kid you into thinking they're going to be there for you no matter what. I will always love you. It's just a load of bollocks because they want to get into your knickers. So women, think about it. Think critically about it. If you're not ready to be a mom, a parent, think about it. Right? And if somebody, for whatever reason, because these things still happen, I've seen married people get divorced and the kids are stuck, the women are stuck with the kids. But the fact that the man left you doesn't mean that the anger and frustration should go to the children. I love my sister Amanda for that thing. Mandy always says that women need to go and seek help. Like, heal yourself, right? Heal yourself, because obviously it hurts that you gave your heart to somebody and they trampled all over it. It hurts. You're a human being. Go and get yourself sorted out first before you get hooking up with somebody else. Because if you don't, there's so many boys walking around in men's persona because their fathers left them. They don't have any man role models to aspire to be like because their fathers never cared. And this is the generation of men that have become the one that Osi was married to. And now she's died. Some men are themselves battered and bruised inside. They're angry with themselves and their lives and their existence. And so before you say I do to somebody, make sure you really know who it is that you're marrying. I'm sick to my face of seeing people tell me, but I didn't know who I was really marrying. Yes, you did. And if you didn't, then you weren't paying attention to the things that mattered, because the writing is always, I'm telling you, the writing is always on the wall. If you date them long enough, you find out. Sometimes you have to push boundaries to see how far you can go with him before he loses his cool. And that is testing the waters too. We women are so quick to test drive dicks and willies, but we're not quick enough to test drive the behavior and the attitude, which is what you're going to be living with. How much sex can you have in a marriage? Tell me. You're not going to be screwing 24/7. You still got a job to go do to feed yourselves. Marriage doesn't survive on air and water. People got to work, right? A lot of money is involved in being married. A lot of you just don't realize that. Oh, I'm married for love. Where kind love? Which kind love is that? Huh? Are you going to drink air? Are you going to be screwing, suspending in the air or on a tree? That bed that you're going to be screwing on, does it not cost money? Love is not enough, you know. That thing that you guys call love, it's not enough. Love, it doesn't take just love in marriage. Love is not enough. And in actual fact, whatever you guys describe as love, is that really love? Or is it just some myth that you're calling love? If somebody truly loves you, they protect you, they want to see you succeed and thrive. If a man truly loves you, he wants you to be the best version of yourself possible, women. Osi was married to a man that had to be begged for her to go sing. The thing that she's been given, the talent that she has to beg her husband to be allowed permission to sing. What kind of a marriage is that? When somebody loves you, they love you. They love you for you. Any man who comes into your life saw something about you, the way you were living, and loved you for that version of you. So any man who comes in and tries to change you, it's like, but that wasn't the me that you saw that you like. So why are you changing me? Why? And that is a valid question you should be asking. The man fell in love with you being independent, having a voice, speaking up. So why is he trying to tame you and make you go quiet, not speak? Why? A lot of men can't handle women with big voices. They can't. I don't want you on social media. I don't want you to talk to anybody. I don't want you to. No. You had a life before he came along. He saw that life and he was attracted to that life. That's you. Why is he trying to change you? Why? If there is one thing that my spirit can't deal with, it's when people try to take charge of your life and tell you how to live the life. I can't deal with that. I can't. There are lots of very insecure, both men and women, because they've dated partners that cheated. So now everybody they meet is a cheater. Right? Men, women, please teach your sons the value of respect for themselves first, because you can only give what you have. Don't just have children to tick a box, because that's what a lot of us are doing. Oh, I'm in my 40s now. Everybody and their dog has had a child, so I ought to have one too, so that society can see that I've arrived too. Don't just have children for the heck of it. Have children that you really want to have, that you want to impact something into. Some people don't understand that for better, for worse. Better for worse doesn't mean you stick in abusive marriages. Pastors should look straight in the eyes of couples and tell them not only sex outside marriage can lead to divorce. Most people are going crazy due to bad relationships and what people say. That's why I applaud people, men of God, that say it as it is, and there are not many of them. We're in a church now where the only thing that sells today is to talk about prosperity. The pastor knows, he knows that the church elder, the person that gives the biggest tithe in his church, abuses his wife. But he's gagged oftentimes by that tithe that is going into the church, that he keeps his mouth shut and turns a blind eye. They know that the person that gives the chairman of the church that sits in the frontmost pew is full of evil. He is Satan's incarnate. They know, they are aware of that. But they allow money to rule them. And they shut up and keep it and allow somebody's daughter to be subjected to domestic violence and abuse, just so that he can bring the tithes into the storehouse and fill the house of God with money. Pastors that do that, shame on you. And there are many of them. And I know a lot of them are feeling bad today because they know they have that very same thing in their own churches. There's another OC in another church going through that. OC is not an isolated case. There's a lot of that going on. Now, Sister Akuya, how are you? Mwah. For thou shalt speak the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Pastors know, they are aware. Some of them are doing the said thing themselves anyway. So what can they say? The world today is full of opportunists. There's no loving. So it makes marriage so difficult. Instead of learning to know whom we are, loving ourselves first, we tend to love in the name of marriage. Instead of studying the man to choose, a man who cares, a man who protects, a man who loves you just as you are. Guys, it's time that women arise and have a voice. It is okay to be a pastor and a woman of God and leave your marriage. If that marriage isn't serving you, it's okay. It's okay to be divorced. If you're going to be sat in an abusive marriage where you're battered and bruised, it's okay. It's okay. God did not waste his time. He did not waste his time, hours on end, making you, as a woman, the helpmate of a man, to become a punching bag for any human being under the sun. It is not okay. It's not. And say it is okay for somebody to not adhere to the rules of engagement that they made when they were marrying you, the vows of chastity, of love and protection that they made. It's okay to walk away from that if it's not serving you. It's okay. A lot of us are so afraid of hellfire and all of this imaginary thing that you don't even see, and creating the hellfire here. So you're having double hellfire. What is wrong with you? You go to hell here on earth and go to hell too. I mean, come on. This God that you read about, does he sound like one that is said that you have to stay regardless? Women, it's time. It's time. We can't have no more OCs anymore. But sadly, I feel like this is not going to be the last time. Because a lot of us just don't have that extra factor that we need in us to propel you to leave. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be by myself, but you're being beaten up every day. Are you not better off having your peace in your own home and be alone in peace than stick in a marriage and be in pieces? I mean, come on, women. It's time. It really is. And so I'm pleading with parents, people that are having children. Ask yourself whether you're actually committed to this thing that you're doing for the long haul, or whether it's just a bit of sex that you want to have, because the two outcomes are very different. If you don't want children, don't have them, because you're breeding animals, not humans. There is no human being of sound mind and judgment under the sun that will throw a fatal punch in the chest of a woman you purport to love till she dies. There is no man. And any man who does such a thing is not well. The wires are not screwed up right in there. There's something that is not right. The chemical balance does not equate to nothing anymore. There is something wrong. So I'm pleading with my sisters. Marriage is not the end all and be all, It's not. Marry somebody who loves you regardless, right? That you can just be yourself and flow with. You don't have to put up any fake persona to be around. You can just be you and breathe around this human being. Be with that person. But anybody that you have to be scared around, anybody that, even when you want to do you, you have to beg him and seek permission from. That is not marriage. That is not love. Any relationship where you don't have a voice, you can't do you and be you, it's not a marriage. Any partner that cannot support your good work, it's not meant to be your spouse. That is the gospel truth. True men don't envy their women when they're doing better than them. They love them all the more. They support them all the more and push them into their greatness because they recognize and cherish what they have. The battered men envy their wives, suppress them because they want to be the kings of a jungle. They want to rule the world in their homes. A lot of times because they know their failure out there in the world. So the only place that they can be the boss is the home. And so if they have to subject their subordinates, being the wife and children, to a life of misery, then so be it. Because that's the only place they can feel like they have control. Beware of controlling men. Beware of them. They exist. It's a thing. Beware of them. Wolves in sheepskin. Beware of them. Any man that can't allow you to breathe and have a voice. Any man that wants to know your move every second of every moment of every day. Beware of them. I called you 50 times. Why didn't you pick up the phone? But you spoke to him 2 minutes ago. Beware. There's no time to pee. If you live alone, he wants to see your house, to see whether you stashed some man underneath your bed. Absolutely ridiculous. You spoke to him 5 minutes ago. Beware. beware, because that ain't love. That is being claustrophobic. That is being gagged. That means that this person, no matter what you do, even when you're living in under the same roof with him, he still doesn't trust you. He doesn't. Guys, it is so sad. Hello, Antia. How are you? Mwah. I'm going to speak to you in a minute. It's time. There's been so much sadness over the last 24, 48 hours online. I hope that it counts for something. That OC being abused and battered and now killed will mark the turning point for somebody in their lives to say, you know what, enough is enough. Married to a pastor, a man of God, a preacher, whatever, I ought to have a voice. I can't take this anymore, and walk. You know yourself, you know. You know yourself. You're watching me now. You know yourself, you know. It's time to take action. It is not okay for any man to lay a finger at you. It is not okay. It's not. It's not fair, and it's not okay. It's not permissible for one person to think that they have the right to hit the other. It is not okay. It's not. Church or not, culture or not, religion or not, it is not okay. So true. I'm a widow now, but I was divorced before. So I know the stigma, especially from the church. Look, I was born and raised a Catholic, right? I'll tell you this today. And in the Catholic Church, if you get divorced, you don't get to sit in front of the church ever again, right? You're not allowed to commune in the bread and wine ever again, because it's almost as if you're a disappointment or you have leprosy. That's how I felt. And I've harbored a lot of ill feeling since then about the church, because you're treated as an outcast. And Jesus came for those that were trodden over, not for people that were allowed in the church. So what is Christianity then, if I can't be divorced and be loved in my own church? That is why I have a big problem with religion. I do. I love the Lord, don't get me wrong. I do with all of my heart. And I know that I'm nothing without him. But that doesn't also mean that a church prescribes to me being a child of God where I can and can't sit, what I can and can't do. I'm sorry, but I just don't ascribe to that. Let's not get started on that, because that's just going to go somewhere else I don't want it to go. But I have a big problem with any religion that says this is where you ought to be. Just because I made a decision to be married and it didn't work out for me, so I have to stick to that marriage just to conform. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't. Some people don't take dating and courtship seriously. There should be specific questions both should be asking. We shouldn't be desperate for marriage. Every man knows the type of woman he wants to be with. So why don't you go for such women rather than go for the ones that you're looking to cripple? Why? How can you marry my type and say you don't want to work or go live on media? How? I mean, my partner met me when I was already fully blown on social media. And I told him, I said, you and I are going to have a big problem if you don't understand this core principle that this is what I love to do. I know you don't like to be out there. I know you don't want social media, and I'm not forcing you to. But you equally also have to understand that I do this and it's what I love to do. So please, let's understand each other's boundaries here, and let's not delve into situations that are not going to help our relationship. It's open and transparent. I don't go hide anywhere to talk to anybody. If somebody calls me, sat next to me, or I'm lying on him or whatever, I answer the call. I'm not afraid to speak to anybody in front of him. Nobody. Open and transparent. I don't have a password on my phone. He can go and screw and whatever. Because my life is like that. That's just me. Right? Some people choose to have whatever. Do whatever works for you. But for me, it's like this. What you see is what you get. I have a big nose. Here it is. See it. I have big. I'm not about to hide anything. It's like this. See it. And sometimes that can be very detrimental to you too when you're like that. Because some people don't know how to handle that respect and regard for you being upfront and open. Sometimes it can be your worst nightmare and your downfall, to be honest, when you're like that. But that's just me. I don't want to feel that I'm trapped by lies or deceit or anything. This is it, black and white. Here you go. Right? He sees everything that goes on social media, everything. Right? So there's nothing to hide, nothing. He sees it. So those of you who hide, come in in my inbox and send all those funny things. I love you. From the moment I saw you, I love you. Saw me where? You don't even know me. We see all of those messages of yours and we have a good laugh about it. So guys, it is what it is. That's what works for us. Right? But I think that it also comes with transparency from the very get-go. And so if he starts hiding things from me and starts behaving in a particular way, then I know he's doing something that he knows is wrong, but he's doing it. And so we're done. Do you think passwords on phones are being overprotective of their phone? Not to say one should abuse privacy. No, I don't think privacy should be abused. I understand that. But equally, if my partner receives a phone call and he can't receive that call in my presence, there's a problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a different thing if we're somewhere partying and there's a lot of noise and then he has to go pick up a call in the quiet. I get that. But if my partner receives a phone call, especially when the call is from a woman, and his whole demeanor changes and he's being some type of way, you can feel the vibe. And that's where the problem is. It's not so much about having a password on your phone. For me, I don't. Because if anything were to happen to me and I'm with him and he needs to use my phone to for example, pick up a number, call my family, whatever, he needs to be able to, right? That's just me. That's just my prerogative. I can put a password on my phone, but I don't. Because in the heat of things, something happens and he's not now going to be ramming his mind thinking, what is this girl's password? He doesn't walk around with passwords, does he? So that's just me, right? You do what works for you. But what I'm saying is that transparency is just the thing, right? When you respect the person that you're with, there's that openness and transparency, and it works both ways. So if he receives a call from his, I don't know, ex-girlfriend or somebody, and he cannot pick up that phone call in my presence, we're watching a movie, we're talking, and he gets a call and he has to go hide in some other part of the house to pick that call, or worse still, he allows the call to ring off and then he goes to hide somewhere to return the call, then I have a problem. Then I have a problem. It's just impossible. Right? So that's what works for us. Openness and transparency. It's how we do it. You do what works for you. I'm not prescribing nothing for anybody. But I'm just saying that when you have that, then there's no shadow of doubt or element of anything. It is what it is, right? I always forget passwords, so it doesn't work for me. You're like me because I have enough passwords for everything. You have to have a password for your bank account. If you live in the West, you have multiple accounts for multiple things. You have a credit card, you have a bank card, and then there's the work stuff on top of that. I'm on Facebook, I have to have a password and whatever for that. If you're on Instagram, there's another one. Twitter, it gets a bit much, It does. And it's not safe to have the same password for everything. At least I learned a thing or two from cybersecurity. So you're not supposed to do that. Then you have your email address. It gets a bit much. It does, right? In short, it's better to find a soulmate rather than marrying a bully. So before you go in, better have your quality checklist to avoid being a prey to marriage. And this is what we talked about, Florence, from the get-go, that have your non-negotiables from the outset. Him and I had this conversation very early in our relationship, right? We started talking. I'm like, okay, before this thing goes anywhere, right? What are your non-negotiables? What is it? Tell me. To me, I know full well what mine are. Cheating, oof, we're done. Hitting, oof, we're done. Shouting and screaming, we're done. So right? So it's there. There's no ambiguity. There's nothing left to interpretation. It's clear, black and white. You cheat, I'm done. And cheating isn't just when you go sleep with somebody physically. That's another thing too. We women and men, you need to get this point straight. And I'm going to go soon. Right? Cheating isn't when you go stick your thing in somebody's something. No. The cheating started well before that. The cheating started when you took that woman's number that you work with or whatever that you shouldn't have. The cheating started when you were talking to her. You cannot have a conversation to her when I'm there. That's when the cheating started. The cheating started when you're on social media with another woman, exchanging intimate body parts with that other woman, and yet you have a wife sleeping in your bed. That is cheating. That is when the cheating started. The cheating doesn't just start overnight, right? The man just doesn't meet that girl and takes her panties off and sticks it. That's not how the cheating started when he started doing the thing that he knew he shouldn't be doing behind your back, because he knows when you see that thing, it doesn't just make sense. That is when the cheating starts, right? So guys, I don't want to waffle on anymore. I've spoken for 2 hours now. My nostrils are blocked. I'm about panting here. So guys, it's just, divorce is like a penalty in football. It's part of marriage. So if your partner abuses you for long, run out, else gone too soon will be yours. Let's update that. Divorce is like penalties in football, right? And it is a part of marriage. So if your partner ever abuses you, right, not continues to, ever abuses you, it's time for you to run. Not if he abuses you for long. The first time is the last time. The first time is the bloody last time, right? The first time is the last time. Because he hits you once, you accept it. Oh, he made a mistake. It was an error in his hand. It was a reflex action. Oh, his hand just went. Okay, this time his hand went. Next time it's not just the hand that is going. I've seen women whose men's heated up an iron and stuck it in their wife's back. Was that a reflex action? It started with little slaps across the face. Then it went to beating. So the first time is the last time. That is what I say. The first time that the tip of your finger touches me is the last time. Right? God bless the white man, because she will stay a minute under abusive marriage, irrespective of what people think of her in her position. The first time is the last time. And if we all know this, a lot of lives will be saved. Women making excuses for their husbands. Oh, I fell down the staircase. You're always falling down staircases. Then you need to get your your bones checked out, because maybe something ain't right. My wife is so flimsy. She's always falling. Please let this be the last time we're talking about this. I beg of you. I beg of you. There's been enough Barbara Tommy's, and now Sister Ochi's. There's been enough of that. There's been enough of that. It's time to walk. The first time is the last time. Because any man who starts hitting you, he ain't going to stop with just the hitting. It always progresses on to something else. Because you stayed when he hit you the first time, you make him feel that, okay, it's okay to abuse her. Yes, it's acceptable. So next time he throws something at you, he doesn't care where it falls, your head, your whatever. And now he's pulling belts and things. I watched a Nigerian movie once, and I hope I remember the title. The man tied his wife up like a goat and left her in her bedroom for 3 days. She died in the end. She died in the end. So guys, a word to the wise is enough. We've talked about this long enough. And it's time to go. Stay tuned. In a couple hours, Mandy and I are back to talk about being 40 plus. The things, the changes that our bodies go through, so that we're aware, we're educated, we know what is coming, or if you're going through it, you know it's okay. You know the things that you need to do to have better outcomes, to manage your being over 40 plus, so that you're having better outcomes. So guys, I love you. Sister Maureen, God bless you. Florence, Alta, Nana Pretty, Lydia, Kwame, my own brother. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. I recognize you. I love you so much. And I thank every single one of you that spend the time here, that share the videos, that comment, that say everything that you guys say. I appreciate every single one of you. You make being here worthwhile, right? And I hope that this platform offers you a space to be you, one. It offers you a space for education, right? Education, where you uplift yourself. You pick a thing or two that helps you on your life's journey. I really hope that that is the case, because this is what Sika Educates. It's all about. It's about educating. It's about drawing awareness. It's about letting people be themselves, right? There's no judgment here. There's no judgment in this space, right? You're allowed to be yourself and say and do whatever you want to say, as long as you're respectful. What I do not like is when people try to gag you and stop you from saying what you want to say on your own platform. That I cannot stand at all. If you want to say you, go open your own page and do you there. I don't come into your space. So as long as those things are recognized, we're good. That you can say and do whatever you want to do and say. I love you, Akuya Friye, so much. We ought to talk. We ought to catch up. Sister Maureen, I love you. Charlene, God bless you. Every single one of you. Thank you. Your stars, your subscriptions, your everything, sharing the video, liking the video, everything you do. I appreciate every single one of you. I never thought that I would ever have a platform where there are at least 12,000 people that wait to hear me. And sometimes when I, for whatever reason, I'm unable to come live, one thing that holds me accountable is when I get people messaging me in the back door saying, "Oh, we didn't see you yesterday. Are you okay? You went live. I was sat here waiting for you to come live and you didn't." Then I know that, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, 12,000 people. I started from zero, just like everybody else does. And now it's 12,000 strong. And now we can be 25 and 50,000 strong too. And it's all down to you. You learning something, you sharing something, you following and subscribing, and all of those things is what gets us going. So if you love this page and you want to see it here, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years from now, still going, please be a part of something that I know will be great. And let's form this army of people that are transforming our own lives, one, and helping others to do same too, because that is what this whole thing is all about. Uplifting men and women to be responsible people that leave a generation of people that are also responsible. I love you guys so much. Have a lovely, lovely day. God bless you, and God bless your week ahead. And please say no to any form of abuse, women. It is not okay. It's not. If you're sat in one and you don't know what to do, it's simple. Walk and save your life. People will talk for 5 minutes. They will leave, forget about talking about you, and find something else to gossip about. Your life is more important than anything that anybody has to say. When God was busy creating you, there was nobody else gossiping. Think about that. He made you in his image and likeness and set you apart and said that you were great. There is something that you have to do until the work is done, until he calls you home. Nobody else has the right to cut your life short. OC should still be here singing. She did not deserve such a painful death. So, guys, do the needful. I love you. Mwah. Take care of yourself. Stay beautiful and know who you are. And say no to any form of abuse. Okay? Mwah. Bye.